Yo, people, welcome back to episode 2 of It's Not a Podcast. Before we get into it, I just want to say thank you for all the love and support that you've shown on the first episode. It's very much appreciated. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below for any of the thoughts that you might have while watching the podcast. And yeah, enjoy episode 2. Okay, yeah, we're live, so I just wanted to say thank you for coming through. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Always. We just spent 2 days at studio together. So,
we did, yeah.
How'd you find it?
I loved it. It was so good, yeah. I always love working with you anyways.
We've done work before for another artist before that.
Yeah.
And then we've also done something separately away from that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think that song was, the second one we done?
Do you know what? I haven't heard it in a while.
Same.
But I remember at the time it was good.
It was a really good tune. It was a really good tune.
I think it's hard though, isn't it? It's like you could do so many sessions and then like it's just like one and it's
Yeah, literally. But yeah, I think we had great working chemistry from the beginning, to be fair.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how long I've known you now. I think it's got to be like 2 years.
Yeah, probably something around around that. Yeah,
which is crazy. It's gone so fast.
It's crazy. Yeah, where's all the time gone?
I know.
All right, so for the people at home that don't know who you are, who are you? What do you do? Why do you do what you do?
Work for? I'm an artist. I'm called Bishop. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I write sort of most commercial genres, but my artist project is like pop with R&B influence.
Nice.
And many other influences, but they're the main ones.
Nice. So you mentioned writer and you've got an artist project as well.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between the two for you? Like, how do you separate the two?
I think there's a huge difference, and I haven't quite figured out the balance yet. And I think that's kind of part of the journey. So like probably around the time I met you, I was very much in like writer mode because I've taken a step back from my artist project at the time and was figuring stuff out. And I think it's really important to, if you're going to be writing to pitch for other artists, it's a very different headspace. And I was actually talking about this with someone yesterday. You know, it's good to kind of write with an artist and grow with them. But I think when you're an artist yourself, that's a lot of, it's time consuming.
Very.
Like mentally and creatively.
Yeah.
But I also hate writing for pitch, so it's kind of catch-22. So now,
really,
yeah,
wow.
Like it depends what it is.
Why do you hate writing for pitch?
I have to be careful about what I say because I don't want to upset anyone.
No, of course.
Well, no, I just think like in the UK, my heart is like R&B soul.
Okay, yeah.
I don't really feel like anyone is trying to be pitched that stuff in the UK.
Nah.
Unless you're, again, as I say, growing with the artist. But it's hard for me to dedicate doing that because the only reason I started was to be an artist and to perform and perform my stuff live. And so it's like, I do feel as though unless you have like so much financial freedom, all this freedom, like it's very hard to find that balance, you know? So, but I like writing to pitch, but if it's good pitch that does something for me, you know, that's like, I like creating.
Yeah.
But there's a bit of a ceiling in the UK for that, unfortunately.
I feel you.
You know.
What's very interesting that you touched on is about artists usually end up starting out as writers. Mine
was kind of backwards. I've gone like backwards.
Really?
Yeah, but because when I first started and I signed, I didn't really have a lot of music. Like I didn't start writing until later in life, and within like a year of writing I was signed. So I feel like I had like a quick start into my career because I got signed, but like I wasn't a strong writer at that time.
Okay.
And then you realise actually how hard it is to sustain a career being an artist. So then, I don't know, like you just get thrown in different situations and rooms and then you're like, oh, I haven't actually been doing the artist thing for a while.
Yeah. That's how I've been feeling lately because it's just a lot of writing. I've been doing writing like straight for just 2 years now.
Yeah.
That takes a toll on you, and it's like when you do have time to do the artistry, like by the time you get back into it, the whole game has changed from when you
changes like every year.
Exactly. So now you've got to basically relearn everything that you.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh, it's a struggle.
That's what I mean. It just changes too quick, and it's kind of weird that it changes so quickly when us as creatives and artists feel like we're so stagnant.
Yeah.
For so long.
For real.
It's like we're still, and like everything's just moving around us so fast. But yeah, do you know, like the artist thing just kind of took a backseat, and I think, you know, becoming independent is like a huge thing to do with it, because like, and I'm glad I've experienced both, because, you know, people talk about being independent so much, but boy, it is hard.
It's hard. It's really hard work. No one really understands
my
how
God.
much goes into it. And the thing is, you have to be working every single day, and you have to do every single job. So you have to be your manager, you have to be your marketing.
Well, that's the thing, and like you realise, you figure out what your strengths are, because you like to think that you can do it all, and I do have, you know, I have as much input as I can, but I'm also not, you know, naive to the fact that there's some things I can't execute like someone else could, and I need help with it. But also, like, budget. It's the biggest thing. Like, you know, if you're doing certain genres or even in a band, I actually feel like it's easier because you're not paying mixing, mastering, you know, production fees. Obviously mixing, mastering you will, but like production fees is all like in-house, you know, and then you're putting your heads together, so everyone's got ideas. But I just feel like when you're trying to do pop, anything that's like remotely like high end sort of commercial in the UK, or in any territory really, like it costs money, like to even like be picked out of the pond, like
because you need to also look a certain way, and that costs money.
It's everything.
Your music video has got to be a certain. It's stress.
It's expensive.
Man. It's expensive, yeah.
It's expensive, and there's a lot of pressure. But you know, I did that, and I've experienced that, and I'm happy I did it, because, in a sense, it kind of, in that time, it's like when you're on your own for a long period of time, you learn to kind of have your boundaries, and then after that, I was like I got signed again and going into a new artist deal. I was like, right, now I know exactly what it involves, so what people should be doing when they're not doing their job. Yeah. And now I know what to ask for when I need help, you know, and I think it's been quite helpful in that sense, but it's a struggle. If you're not busy, it's not nice. Like,
yeah. So I feel like I still haven't really got to how do you find the balance between the writer and the artist, because I find it quite hard myself.
It is really hard, and I think it is obviously when you're doing the artist thing. Honestly, I don't know if like year in year out it would be like, if I could say my artist career was going the way it was, then that would probably involve me not writing so much for other people. Because if I am doing that too much, then I'm not sure my artist project is going where I need it to be. I think it's difficult. Again, like, it's like I said to you, I don't mind writing for other projects if it's where there's got to be something in there.
Yeah.
That there's some sort of correlation.
It's got to have some sort of purpose to it.
Yeah, and I think what I've struggled with, I mean, it's not a secret because I'm very vocal about it, but like, what I struggle with in the UK is like, creatively there is a bit of a ceiling, like whether anyone wants to admit that or not, there is. And you know, it's very dance orientated. And I love dance music. But there's so many subgenres within dance, and I don't just want to do like stuff that I've heard a million times. It just does not excite me, and then it's kind of counterproductive because you're trying to be busy, but then you're resenting the work because your heart's not in it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'll ever find that balance of being, you know, a writer for others and an artist. But then I'm not going to spend 5 days a week writing songs for my project, because, you know, that's kind of, that burns you out as well, and you get bored.
Do you feel that's...
I think so. Like, again, if you go through phases, but, you know, Monday to Friday in every week of the year, like, it's not possible. And you've got to experience life as well.
I don't. No, definitely, I agree. You have to experience life, but I would disagree that just working on your artist project yourself. Yeah. I would disagree that can burn you out if you were to do that 5 days a week.
Really?
Yeah, because I feel like that's more or less where your heart actually lies, isn't it? So if you're passionate about that, I would assume the passion can basically pull you through those 5 days of creativity.
Yeah, I mean, like, I would enjoy it. I think that the difference is people don't realise it's like the people that are the top end that we hear in the charts and stuff, they're not going to studio every day. They're going to the Bahamas for like maybe a couple months of the year, breaking it up.
Yeah.
They're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing gigs, they're doing press, they're doing fashion, they're starting brands, like they're breaking it all up. So then by the time it comes to like, oh, I need to make music because I'm going to release again, it's like it's condensed and it's like structured. So it's like they're breaking it up. But like, you know, when you're trying to build, like people say to me all the time, like, you're so busy. And I'm like, yeah, because all I can do is go studio. Because I'm not breaking up. I can't break my time up with anything else at the moment.
This is the thing about music when you're on the way up.
Yeah.
Nothing is structured.
No, not
Everything
at all.
is just like on the go and it comes when it comes.
Yeah, there's no structure at all.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that because it keeps it interesting, but sometimes you can get caught up in no structure and feel like there's no direction. I don't know. I think what I would love to do in a certain way is find a couple of artists that I really, really believe in and focus on building with them, you know, and try and like find the balance between that and my project.
Nice.
I don't know. We'll see. See if I can manage it all.
So touching more on your project,
Yeah.
how is it currently going? How does it sound? What's the mission? Like, what's the vision?
I don't know, like obviously sonically it's pop, I guess, but like what even is that? What does that even mean anymore? Like who knows? But
I mean, I think you can kind of hear a pop
is
song
just
on radio
structured.
and you kind of understand. I mean, for one, pop is just popular music, right?
Exactly.
But then there's always like subgenres of pop. So you got R&B pop.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's a subgenre. Like, I think maybe my listeners have been a bit confused in the past because where I've been paving my career out and trying to figure stuff out, you know, a lot of people would be like, oh, she's a dance act. But, like, that doesn't bother me because I'm so grateful for those opportunities, but it's just not me at all. But, like, now it's very much, I feel like me, and it's sonically like, you know, pop. There's a lot of R&B influence. There's a lot of soul influence. Some gospel, because it's just like all I ever grew up listening to.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's going to come
What's
through.
your influences?
Oh my God.
Is that a hard question?
Well, I literally grew up listening to like Christina, Justin Timberlake, obsessed with him.
Yeah.
Like old school Chris Brown.
Of course.
Whitney, Stevie Wonder, like a real mix. Like that was predominantly what I grew up listening to.
Yeah.
Mariah.
Nice.
You know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But obviously over the years, it's like you'd obviously pull influences from everyone and like working with other writers and creatives and stuff, and you're like, oh, I love that. And
Yeah.
I just feel like there's so many influences, but like my favourite band is Coldplay.
Oh, really?
That's what I mean. It's like such a curveball, but yeah, I'm like a die-hard Coldplay fan.
Interesting.
I think it's not even so much sonically, it's like his songwriting. For me, I'm just like, wow.
I think it's good to have a wide range of you know, music that you listen to, though.
Well, especially as a writer,
yeah,
it's
definitely,
so important.
definitely. Because if you just listen to one genre only, then
It's all you're going to be able to write.
Yeah, you're going to be very limited.
Yeah, of course.
And I don't think anyone wants to do that.
No.
Have you released a single from your album yet, or project?
Yes, so I put 2 out.
Okay.
I had one out in the summer that was called Sweet. It was very me, very pop.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's like nothing I've ever heard or done before in a weird way, but like the stuff that's obviously to come, and the last single that I put out not long ago, it's like that's me.
Nice.
You know,
Nice.
the R&B's slowly creeping back in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think probably the song that I put out, SBGNR, recently, that's my favourite song that I've released so far, 100%.
Do those letters mean something?
Sad bitches get no respect.
Really? Wow.
It's funny.
So let's get into that, yeah? So what made you write that song? Where'd that inspiration come from? Because that's a very strong title.
It's funny because anyone hearing that title be like, it's going to be like some gimmicky, like, bad bitch thing. It's not. It's basically, it's a heartbreak bop, basically, which is like my forte, which is so nice for me to actually be able to start really diving into that and putting that stuff out. But it's really personal. And I wrote it sort of like, interestingly enough, this time last year, I just got back from Germany and I just come out of a situationship that was very short-lived.
Situationship?
Yeah.
Lord.
Like, very, like, embarrassingly short-lived. But
No way.
I think at that time, I don't know, like, things were quite stagnant in my career, so I wasn't in a great place anyway, so I didn't really know why I was feeling like that. But anyway, it was like a short-lived thing, and it ended, not my choice, and I was just like, at this point, I'd been through so much in relationships, and I know a lot of people say that, but I really had.
Yeah.
And I was just so done. Like, I was so numb inside, but like also like dying inside as well.
Yeah.
But I was literally just like, another one? Like, again? Like,
Yeah.
what the hell? And, you know, I went to Germany, came back, wrote that. It was the guy I was writing with. He had that. It wasn't a title initially. We were just like, it'd be something really cool to just to throw in. But like, ultimately, it was a heartbreak song. And I was like, the whole sentiment of it was like, I could have cried when you left, but like, I didn't. Like, even I might have felt like that, but I'd just been through so much at that point. I was just numb, you know. And then obviously when he threw that line in, I was just like, yes, that's it. Because it's like this facade that we put on all the time, and it's like, I don't know, it's almost like an alter ego that we feel as though we have to carry to, like, for people to like respect us, or and also like it weirdly kind of ties in with the song. Contradicts itself if you listen to it. Like, the verses are very reminiscent and sweet, and it's like, you know, I'm talking about how amazing it was, and then the pre goes into like, you know, you thought that this would tip me over the edge, so after everything I've gone through, but like, and it might have done, but like, I'm just gonna, like, I play too good to pretend. And then, you know, into the chorus, which is like, you know, this kind of energy, like, I don't care. Like, it's all very contradictory. It is a story, but I don't know. I just feel like even with social media and stuff, and there's so many memes floating around, women are coming into their power a lot more, and like, I think it's amazing, but I also feel, and it's not just women do it, men do it as well, but it's like, a lot of the time people just have such an issue of being honest about how they feel. I can't sit there being upset because people are going to think I'm a loser. So it's like, sad bitches get no respect, so I just got to brush it off, even though that's just not how I felt at the time. Do you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
So that's what it's about. And it's like, it's funny because a lot of the stuff I've put out has just been very like, you know, like, you're really cute and, you know, I'd like to get to know you, but like, this is like, you know, that's actually a real experience, you know?
Do you know what my favourite song is that you put out, right? It was either before or after I met you. It was Shut the Fuck Up. Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah. That's my favourite song. I play that one quite often.
Oh my God, that is funny.
Yeah.
It's that again, like, it's such a funny sentiment, that song, because people were always cracking up when they heard it, because they were like, how are you singing, like, how are you riffing, like, shut the fuck up, like,
because that's a really serious thing to say to someone, but you make it sound really beautiful and sweet.
Oh, thank you. I think, do you know, at the time, I think I'd just come out of like my term relationship, and the things people don't realise, they think because you've released a song, you're going through that now. Like, I'm sitting on songs that I wrote 5 years ago that I know are going to come out. So it's at that time, again, I think I was probably very much in a situation where I was just so done.
I feel you.
I was just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me and what the stuff is like about, and it definitely gets more sort of heartfelt as the releases come out.
Nice. What's usually your writing process when it comes to making songs? Do you always write from experience, or? No,
I mean, there was a couple of years where I avoided men and dating. So I didn't really have a lot of trauma going on at that point. Because that's what I find it easy to write about, to be honest. I think not everyone's the same, but a lot of people are, because everyone experiences heartbreak and, you know, connections with people. Like, it's literally universal. Everyone experiences that. But I think I do like to write. I've got better more about writing in the moment. I've got better with doing that. Before, and it depends who I'm in the room with, because you have to be vulnerable in a writing room, right?
Of course.
And I'm still very particular about that because, you know, that's just me. I can't just go in and be like, oh my God, you never guess what happened, like, if I don't really know the person. But I've got better at it where I'm like, let's actually channel some emotion so that it's going to get put out. Do you know what I mean? But before, probably up until like the last year, I would just sort of wait for the dust to settle and then try and write from like a rational perspective.
Got you. Rather than in the moment.
Yeah,
Makes
because we know how chaotic that can be. I don't really want to be going to the studio and crying, to be honest.
Crying? Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I've done that once and I was just like, yeah, I don't want to do that again.
Oh, wow. How was that experience for you, like, to cry in the studio in front of
It was fine because
people?
I was luckily with two people that I'm very close with and work with a lot of the time, so it was okay. And it was very raw, so, you know, and fresh, so it had to be done.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Oh, God bless. God bless you.
I don't know, like... I don't know. It's like therapy in a way, isn't it? Really, in a sense. So I feel like we're quite lucky to be able to do that. Because I just don't really know if many people would ever actually experience having that outlet in their whole life.
Do you know, it's interesting you say that, you know, like writing music is therapy because you can use your experiences and, you know, dive deep into it and why you felt that and blah, blah, blah. I'm someone that doesn't really write from experience.
But it depends, like, what you've been going through, though.
Yeah, I mean, I've been through a lot, but I still rarely touch on the subjects in my life and write about them. I've usually created scenarios in my head.
Yeah, I
or
do
like
that
I've
as
made
well.
a movie in my head.
Yeah.
And then I'm describing it on the song. But it's very rare for me to actually use aspects of my life in a song.
You have to do that if you're writing for other artists, and especially I was doing it a lot with dance because I'm like, no one wants to hear about my heartbreak. Like, do you know what I mean? And especially not if someone else is going to sing it or whatever. Unless I'm going through something that's fresh, you know, I obviously will be able to detach and be like, what do you want to... Like if we're writing for another artist or a DJ or whatever, I'm like, what's the topic? Like, is there anything you want to avoid? And you have to be creative with it. Like, of
course,
you know, whether it's your friend's story or something you heard or like, there's obviously loads of things you can write about, but I just know that my thing is heartbreak.
Yeah, that's your bag. Yeah,
that's my bag.
That's your bag. Love that. How did you get into music to begin with?
I always sang.
Did you take lessons when you were younger?
No.
Because I would assume you were trained. You're a trained singer. No, because your technique is really good, especially when it comes to vibrato and, you know...
to be honest, the vibrato thing's just like a normal thing. I think it actually... It's hard to rein it in.
I struggled with vibrato when I first started singing, and I started late.
It's a style thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I do think it's crazy because recording a lot, like, you really, really do learn how to use your voice. Because, and I was saying this as well to a friend the other day, like, I've learned being in the industry, not just being a singer, when you're doing demos and you're doing records to pitch and who's it for, and like you're constantly adapting because you're like, well, I'm not going to sing this in like a full chest belt because it's not that vibe. It's not gonna, the song's not gonna pop off the same if I do it that way. So, and I think that's definitely something that I've improved on in like the last 5 years of doing music. It's just like learning how to use your voice in like, and knowing when to use certain things at the right time. But yeah, I always sang like just more of a hobby, and then
interesting. Then made it a career.
Yeah, I had a massive break like where I just did 9 to 5, and you know, I didn't being in the actual industry seemed so beyond my reach. You know, I was literally working in London, doing a 9 to 5 in like 2018. And
so, what made you want to take that leap and just, you know, fully go for it? I
always wanted to do it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anything. I felt like I was so far away from like London. I'm not, but it just felt like that. You know.
Yeah.
You know, there were no studios around really or anything where I'm
yeah.
from. I don't know. I don't really know how it came about. I think I literally met someone in the area and who's like, oh, I know this guy round the corner from you with a studio.
Yeah.
Like, he used to DJ for this A-list or whatever. And I was just like, all right, like I'll give it a go. And then he had this like keys player who I still work with a lot now, and they were both just like, just try writing, and I was like, okay, I'm like not very good, but I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Wrote a few questionable songs for about a year.
It's always the first few.
Yeah, and then I didn't really meet anyone else in that year. It was very much just like us. That, you know, the couple of guys that I was working with, and they were like, I mean, bless them, bless their heart really, because they were like, let's just go and perform them at an open mic. And that's what we did. And honestly, like within a year, it would be so different now because it just doesn't happen like that. But I got signed, so
interesting.
The weirdest journey. Like I remember being in my office job, and I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. I was just like, yeah, I sing. Like it's just a hobby. Like, and then I came in like for Christmas, and I was like, I'm gonna have my resignation in, and they were like, oh, where you going? You got a new job? I was like, oh, I got signed to Universal.
Sick.
And they're like, what? Like, what the hell? That's so weird. And it was so like surreal, but yeah, I don't know. It didn't feel real for like probably a year and a half, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was just like, sure, I'm gonna have to go back to work at some point. Like this is crazy, but yeah, I just learned very quickly on the job, I think.
Love that for you.
Insane.
All right, so what was I gonna say?
You said you had a question.
You're right. I did have a question for you. So
I'm scared.
this is where my question comes from, right? So there's like a whole backstory behind it. So I used to say as a joke, if I was to ever start a podcast, then it's gonna be about like mainly music industry stuff.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to do the whole relationship stuff where it's men versus women
No,
are
of
that
course.
and men are that and blah blah blah. Like I feel like that's just so played out and
Well,
it's oversaturated.
I think people just get too upset. So,
That too.
And they don't actually
That
think
too. Yeah,
logically,
yeah.
so they're just like,
Yeah.
you know.
But then my joke basically was, right, so I've got this podcast about music and all my guests that come on the show, they have to come on and they have to snitch on like who's done them dirty, who owes them money, like who are they not cool. I'm not going to ask you that question. I'm not going to, because that was like a joke, right? That was a joke because...
Apparently there is a blacklist though that I would really love to see.
Yeah, apparently, same. I would love to see that. But nah, I'm not going to ask you to snitch on anyone or name names because that's just wild. That's crazy. However, I do want you to tell me about a time where it, like the industry opened your eyes and made you realize you really have to have thick skin to be in this game.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah, no doubt.
So not just politics, not about even, you know, the hardest thing I've learned in all honesty is like being great but not good enough. It's obviously oversaturation's a huge thing, right? It's like anything, every I feel like industry idea gets tired at some point. Like that's been really difficult. I think in all honesty, there's so many things that open your eyes, and I think it's life in general, isn't it? You know, and any industry and career. I've been lucky to have a lot of good people around me, predominantly. I have had bad experiences with like previous management, expensive breakups with management. You know, people that, for us as creators, it's really hard because we think about everything emotionally, and it's such an emotionally driven industry that is run by business.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult. You know, a lot of the business headed people don't feel like us. I don't believe.
Yeah.
So that's really hard. You know, and it's a case of like, and it happens to everyone, whether your A&R will sign you and you know, at the time they believe that because it's got to be in their best interest as well. But like, you know, you're everything and, you know, they're going to really prioritise you and stuff and then they leave. That's hard. You meet producers or people that you're going to work with or that you have a great working relationship with, and when it comes down to money or politics or whatever, it's like they get weird or... Obviously, we develop close relationships with people. Sometimes the line gets crossed. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things in this industry, to be honest, to consider that are like eye-opening. But I don't think that is special to this industry. I think that is just life. But I think honestly the main thing for me is like, as creatives, us being so emotionally and like personally driven and coming across the business people that may make you feel like that, because we're all on vibe. Like, you're not, I'm like, yeah, you might be the best manager in the world, but you're going to be going in a room and representing me, and if I feel like you're going to be weird or awkward, like, I just don't want that. Or I need to feel like I can call you and be like, I literally can't face today, like, which I don't do a lot, but you know, I can't face it today, or I've got X, Y, and Z going on, and you're going to have my back. You know, and it's really hard. Like, you definitely can find a balance, but it's just few and far between people out there.
Do you feel like it's very important as a creative person to have someone in your corner, like, say, a manager or a team of people that you make music with?
Of course. Definitely. Because I did the rounds of, you know, working with so many different people, and certain people are good for certain things in terms of like creatively. You know, what everyone needs to realise is like, even your mum and dad, like, no one wants it as much as you.
That's it, yeah.
And there's been so many times where I've signed new deals or had management, and I'm like, oh, they're really like, you know, they're really into it, but it doesn't always last. Yeah. Because people have got their own stuff going on.
It fizzles out.
And their own priorities, and, you know, so like, but obviously, of course, it's really good to have people around you, and it's really hard sometimes because it's like, well, what are they gaining from this? Is it from a financial stance? Or and obviously we all need to make money, but you know, I've been really lucky to meet people in the industry that really just believe in me, and they actually don't gain anything like else other than just having a great positive input. And I think you only attract those good people if you're a good person, really.
Yeah, I feel like you do come across those select few that are more so there for the journey rather than the payoff.
That as well, yeah.
Yeah.
But I've always been good at figuring those people out.
Really?
Yeah, always.
You need to teach me how, because I'm really bad with like judgment of character. I think someone is genuine when realistically they're there for a specific purpose.
Well, in all honesty, I mean, you probably have had bad experiences. I really, really, really try and learn from them, and I try and see the patterns. I'm terrible with men romantically.
Yeah.
I might see things, but I think I always wait. I see the good in those too much.
Yeah.
And I give the benefit of the doubt. But with like friends and business, very quickly I can usually figure it out. And I don't know why that is, but I've just always had a really great judge of character.
Do you try to not mix business and friendship?
Yeah, I think that's important as well.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's levels, isn't there? You go into studio and, you know, I can tell someone about what's going on in my romantic life because we're going to write about it. But they don't, you know, a lot of people like, are you going to be the person that I pick up the phone when, you know, I've hit rock bottom or...
Yeah.
I don't know, it's difficult, but then it's like like-minded attract like-minded, don't they, as well?
True.
So I think it's important to have people that are out of music and in music as well. Everything's about balance.
I feel like majority of my friends are in music.
Yeah.
So that's quite a difficult one for me. I feel like when I talk to people outside of music, it's very hard for me to find that like common relation. Like,
it is, yeah, because they just don't get it. Like, and
they don't understand the lifestyle. They don't understand why you're doing what you're doing. And,
and I mean, it's taken me a while to sort of figure that out, and you know, get certain people out of my life. And you know, I think a lot of the friends that I have now, they're friends that have been here since day one.
Okay, nice.
And it's a select few, but they're just supportive. And obviously it's hard because it's hard for me. It's like, well, so what happens now? Like, if that song's come out, is it going to go on radio? And I'm like, no, but like, I can't explain to you why, because I don't even really understand it myself.
Yeah.
Like, but it's I think it comes, as long as it always comes from a good place, it's fine. But obviously, yeah, of course, I've got amazing friends in the industry as well. But
nice.
I think it's important.
100%.
Yeah. Have you ever dated in the industry?
No comment. No, why are you doing this to me on my own podcast? Yo, hey, yo.
I just wondered. I was curious. Because we've never spoken about it.
I haven't dated within the industry.
Okay.
I've flirted with women in the industry for sure.
I didn't date, I just flirted.
No, I haven't dated anyone within the industry.
No.
No.
I don't think that's ever a terrible thing.
No, I don't think it's a terrible thing. I do try to separate. Well, not that I do try to. I do actually. I separate business and, relationships. So if I found, let's just say, I was working with a singer, I was writing for a singer, and I found her attractive, and
you just get over it, just move on.
What do you mean, get over it and move on?
Just ignore that.
No. What I'm trying to say is, if I found her attractive and I wanted to pursue her, I wouldn't work with her.
Okay, yeah.
Because I don't want to mix the two together. I think that's when it starts to get a bit messy. And then you might make a great tune together, and then that whole friendship or relationship just falls apart. And then,
Yeah, then you've got neither.
Yeah.
I only dated once in the industry, and I don't think it made it any easier or worse. Like, I feel like with social media and stuff, if you're going to bump into someone, you're going to bump into them.
Yeah.
It's funny for me because until that moment, I don't know what it is, but I just am never naturally drawn to creatives.
Really?
Like, I've never had to try to not be. I think it's because I know how crazy we are.
Yeah.
How our mind works and how stressful it is and stuff. And I'm like, I just need someone who's going to
give you some level of normal.
I just need a banker who's going to be sensible. No, I don't. That's not what I'm looking for. But whoever, if the shoe fits, whoever it is. But I just wondered because it's an interesting question because I see a lot of people and I've met a lot of people over time, and I'm like, they're just like, yeah, she's just like an artist and she's with her producer boyfriend. And it's like the only people they're ever date, and I always find that really interesting.
Yeah, I don't think I'd do it again. I've noticed that like a lot of female artists that I've seen, they'll end up dating or having a producer boyfriend.
Well, it's hard, isn't it? It's kind of inevitable a lot of the time because we have such sort of almost unprofessional like relationships because of the nature of what we're doing. So I can see why it happens, but it's just never been my thing.
I hear you. Do you know what it is for me though, right? Because I try to keep it as strictly as professional as possible in every session that I enter, whether it's with a woman or a man, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, for me, where I hear so many stories from women talking about, the producer tried to move to them in the session and blah, blah, blah. That. And then when I end up hearing that a female artist has dated a producer or slept with them or whatever the story is, I always just look at that producer and I'm like, you never really had the intention to work with her genuinely. You had an intention like behind working with her.
Yeah, I think I've been very lucky. I have had a couple of experiences where I'm like, that's questionable. But I'm just not going to work with you again. So you've just kind of shot yourself in the foot. I don't like it if I feel like someone is being a certain way in that, because it's such a vulnerable industry, and I don't like it. If someone's going to make a pass at me or something, like if I instigate, I think that's fine, but I don't really do that. So do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, if I was going around flirting with every producer, but like I've never dated a producer, but I just think that's a red flag for me, because then you're just like, how am I going to work with you again knowing that you think that? I just find it very interesting. I think if you've never really crossed paths before, it's fine, or you're in totally different worlds of the industry, which happens a lot. I think that's fine.
I don't know, I still look at these,
but also word gets around as well.
That's what I'm saying. I've got a good name, so I'm trying to keep it that way.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's what I mean. People talk, so
I don't want someone to come in and mess that up.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
especially in this game, crazy.
Well, you want to be respected as an artist, not just that's that girl or that guy that had a thing with so and so.
Of course.
We're not working hard just for it to be played off like that,
What do you think about some of the? I don't know if I should say this. I might cut it out, but I want to ask the question anyway. What do you think about some of these artists in the industry that will probably like sleep their way to the top?
I don't know how I feel about that. It's not something I would ever do, but
Yeah.
I think if someone feels like they need to do that, then they've got very low self-worth in any situation. And I think for me, I'm trying to put myself in that situation. I would never want to give someone that upper hand, because ultimately, like, I am confident in what I'm doing and my talent. And I just think that is always going to come on top for them, because time is going to pass. They're going to talk about it. Embarrassing.
Of course, naturally.
That's going to hit you, because you're going to be like, I wonder if that didn't happen, would I still be where I am? And that's just not something I want to live with.
Yeah.
You know, but like, no judgment. Do your thing. Like, you have to do what you do. I don't hear about it a lot, but I think generally people in the industry are, you know, they're quite professional, and depends what circle you're in. But
Yeah, of course.
I don't know. I think it all comes down to self-worth and value. And I think if you feel like that's all you have to offer, then I feel sorry for you. Really? Do you hear what I'm saying?
I hear you. Earlier, I did ask you about, like... well, I wasn't trying to tell you to snitch or anything, but I was, like, asking about situations in the industry that have made you think, rah, people are fucked.
Yeah.
And
basically.
there's a lot of some really weird fellows in this game.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And on Instagram as well, there's a lot of weirdos on there.
Yeah. What other things have you experienced in the industry that kind of have raised like a red flag, or have made you be more cautious of, more aware of, like, moving forward in the future?
I think business, in the sense of like contracts and stuff, don't ever sign anything without a lawyer, which apparently for some people isn't a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But
I've made that mistake a few times.
That's actually like rogue of you, to be honest.
No, do you know what? I'm very impatient. I'm really impatient. And the thing is, right, my mindset is, even if it's bad, right? But my thing is, I cannot be stagnant. I can't be in the same position all the time.
I know.
So my thing is, like, even if it's a crappy deal, at least it's something that's pushing me further. And I don't see how a crappy deal is gonna hold me back necessarily. I always feel like I can turn that into a positive.
Depends what it is, I guess. It's all about commitment, isn't it? I think, I mean, for someone like me, it's just too risky, you know, and I think, look, you can have the wrong lawyer who can stitch you up. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
That has happened to me. Like, so, you know, it's difficult, but I think to be honest, having a good lawyer who genuinely cares about you, who is like charging you based on what you earn, cares about you sort of like individually, it actually may be like one of the most important relationships you have in your working career. It's so important for them to actually want to get the best for you, because a lot of lawyers just tick boxes. They're like, legally, like, that's standard, so like it's whatever, and it might be outdated. So like, you know, they need to really cater to like the modern world and the way the world's moving, and you know, just asking for what you can, like, because if you don't ask, you don't get. But not all lawyers do that. You know,
True.
so I think business, commitment wise, I've been very lucky, like with majority of contracts I've signed, because I've always had a lawyer, but you know, management and stuff like that, management contracts, because in music there's so many clauses, and I think always like the minimal commitment you can have is always the best decision you can have in your career as well.
I think I've finally found a manager in my career, because I've had like loads of different managers, but I finally found a manager that I think is actually good for me, my beliefs on the industry, and you know what I'm trying to achieve as well. And he understands the bigger picture. So that's really important.
I think creatively someone's got to be on your page. That's really important. It's like I was talking before about that balance between having, you know, not having no clue about the creative side, but you know, they have got to have that. They've got to be business savvy and have that, you know, edge to them where they want to have that awkward conversation that you can't have. And it's really important, to be honest. And I do think actually management as well is like one of the most important decisions that you'll make in your career.
For real.
Yeah, it can literally make or break you.
True. A story just came to my mind, right? So this was years back. I think this was 2016, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
I remember I just put out a EP, like a 6-track EP, right? And there was a deal on the table. It was a licensing deal from some company in Asia. I don't remember it too much, but they were offering 30 grand to basically license my music for 5 years, 5 or 6 years, something like that.
Okay.
And that money got lost because my manager just couldn't respond in time.
What do you mean it got lost?
So basically the deal got taken off the table.
Yeah, see what I mean?
So by the time he did get around to responding, they were no longer interested because he took too long.
Yeah.
And yeah,
It's
that's 30 grand that went to waste.
But then
you know?
why would he do that as well? It's just to not benefit him in any way. Like
who knows? Who knows? But that's the game, innit? That's the industry.
But it's very common as well. And again, I think a good management is very few and far between.
Yeah. You need someone that's hardworking as well. Like, the manager has to work as hard as you do.
They've got to be hungry and they've got to have, like, no shame to a certain degree. Where they don't mind, they just go out and just get that work and, you know, champion you and, you know, all the time. It's like it's full time. It's important. It's really important.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
This industry, man. Boy. let's not dwell too much on the negatives in the industry, because I'm pretty sure there's people out there that are gonna watch this and like they're gonna want advice on how to handle certain situations, and they might get put off. I don't want to put anyone off, because at the same time, where you've got the negatives, you've got the positives as well. And there's a lot of beautiful things about the industry too. Yeah. So I'd definitely like to touch on that. Like, what's some of the best stuff that's happened to you in the industry?
Honestly, I just think as a whole, being able to create and have that output, it's like I said to you earlier, it's such a privilege, because people that aren't creative will just never experience that. I obviously think that that's an amazing thing. I also think going to a studio, making something there and coming away with it and it being so sick is like one of the best feelings ever.
That's it.
Listening back.
Yeah.
And for me personally, like, and I know it's not everyone's favourite part, but just being on stage. Like, that's the only time, in all honesty, that I feel like my mind is just gone and it's all just about that, and it just feels like that's where I belong. Like, it sounds really cliche, but
do you do shows often?
Not at the moment, no.
When's the last time you put on a show? Because I know you did a headline show.
I did last year.
Yeah.
I haven't done one since. I've just been doing like performances here and there. It was kind of it was around the time I met you, really. I was in a very stagnant place and actually not really mentally in a great place, which was a bit of an eye-opener for me, because I don't struggle generally. Like, I usually just get out of the rut very quickly, but I was in like a very long, what felt like 18 months to 2 years rut, and it was to do with not being, you know, being independent, not putting music out, not feeling like I had music to showcase, and you know, it's silly really in hindsight, because you should just do it, but sometimes these shows they cost money to put on, and especially when you want to perform with a band, and so I've kind of just let that take a backseat, to be honest, which I hate. But now that I'm releasing again, like, I feel like I can be like, well, I've got all these songs out, because before, like, companies just didn't know where to place me, because I had like Desiree's "I'm Kissing You" cover and like, you know, a Disciples dance feature, so they were just like, who are you? You know. But now I feel like when you've got music out, you can actually you can work towards something, you know. So that's why. But next year is the year. Like, that's what I really want to focus on, performing.
Okay, so talk about next year then. Like, what do you want to get into doing? Do you want to let the writing take a back seat and focus more on the artistry, maybe?
I mean, it has in the last 6 months. I just want to put my focuses on certain things more. But obviously, I don't feel like I've ever really experienced had the whole artist experience yet. And I feel like when you're releasing regularly, and obviously you do need some success with one or two of those songs,
Of course.
whether it's a viral moment or whatever.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I feel like next year I really want to start writing more R&B, pop, in other territories, like I said to you about maybe going to LA or something like that.
Yeah.
Where I feel like it can be appreciated.
Of course, yeah.
And just releasing because I've got so much music and you know, I just think if I'm releasing sort of every 8 weeks, which is the plan with the label, like, you know, at least that's some sort of direction.
Yeah.
So there's that, and you know, I want to get a booking agent and I want to perform as well.
Interesting.
I'd love to tour. I'd love to do like a support tour. These are all things that I'm trying to manifest right now. But yeah, that's the goal for next year.
For anyone that's trying to get into the music industry or get into being, you know, creative with music, what kind of advice would you give them?
It's hard.
Is that a tough question?
Yeah, because I think advice is cheap, and you know, I do actually give very good advice, but when you're in certain situations and you're a creative, so you're naturally, you know, you feel a lot, so your head just goes.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, always being creative is so important. Part of being creative is not creating. It's really important, taking that time out. But also, I just think, like, there's been certain people in my life that really struggle with, like, if they go to studio and they've had a shit month and they haven't written any hits. Like, you know, I do come across people like that, and I just think you're not gonna go to studio every day or you know, whatever, to work, whatever it is, and create a masterpiece. Like, it's just not realistic.
Yeah.
You know, and how many songs do we write in our life that get cut? Like, not loads, you know.
True.
Even the most successful people, you know, especially in the UK, it's like, it's not like millions of songs. Like,
Yeah.
So I just think you have to not be so hard on yourself, and, you know, out of probably 20 songs that you're going to write, maybe only one of them's going to be like really decent. So I think that's really important, not having too much pressure. And also, like, for aspiring artists, consistency. And that is definitely consistency with releasing. Like, if you're releasing music and it's good, which someone is going to think it's good, like, at some point, there's going to be an audience for it somewhere, 9 times out of 10. Like, if you're releasing consistently, like, you literally, it's a no-brainer. Like, you are going to build, and you can't go wrong with doing that.
Facts.
And don't overthink all of the other things that come with that, all the territories of, like, content and stuff, because it's changing all the time. And really, I think people just want to see something that is weird and new on social media, and that's it.
Touching on that here, sorry to cut you.
Yeah.
But what do you think of TikTok right now and that whole, because labels and artists now really use that as like the forefront of their whole marketing plan.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on that?
I really
Do you use
struggle.
TikTok a lot? Or?
I don't. I do have it. I really struggle with it, to be honest.
Really?
Because, you know, music, unfortunately, isn't just about being talented anymore. And
It's about being entertaining.
yeah, and it's just like, okay, so you're a really amazing artist, but, like, what else? Like, who are you?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, a lot of us like to be introverted and not just, like, have an element of mystique, I think. Social media, just that's basically been taken away from us, that advantage.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to know what you're having for breakfast, and I struggle with that.
Yeah.
Because I'm literally, like, ripping my heart out in these songs. Like, is that not enough? Do you know what I mean? And then I'm talking about them, but, like, they just want more and more and more from you all the time. I don't know how far that's going to go, like, until it's too far, you know? And I feel like it questionably is too far as well.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing because it creates equal opportunity, but you also get people on there that are not serious about music, so that kind of annoys me as well. And I just don't know if there's a lot of sustainability in that, you know, in those moments, those viral moments. And I think it's great for a lot of things, but, you know, as a musician, it's like, how do you differentiate being a TikTok artist and an artist in their own right who's successful. And I think it's hard, but I do think in the right way, it is a great tool. There's pros and cons to it like anything. Same with Instagram.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think this whole social media stuff is just ruining actual music.
It's ruining everything, really.
Yeah, it is. It's ruining our
Relationships,
whole
let's be
society
honest.
right now. But the thing is, we are addicted to it far too much to even, make a change.
Well, I just think we rely on it very heavily. Like I say it all the time, if I wasn't an artist, and I've gone through phases in my life where I haven't had social media, but like I would not have social media. I just think it's so hard to go through a breakup. It makes it 10 times harder because I'm in an R and do I block that person? Do I unfollow them? Like, oh, but I want them to see how good I'm doing. Like, it's just kind of elevated everything so much in like, a negative as well as a positive way. And same with like social media, even streaming. It's like, it's just, it creates so much more opportunity, but also so much oversaturation, disposable mentality.
That's it.
TikTok, quick.
Yeah.
I'm bored. Like, I don't need to watch this. I'll just fast forward it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what happens in 3 minutes into this video? Same with music. Like, you can just skip it. You've got everything is there. It's like there at your disposal, Same with relationships. It's like, oh, like they look really happy. I don't feel like I look like that with my boyfriend. Like, maybe I need to get out. Do you know what I mean? It's like, or even, that girl's hot. I think I'll get rid of this one. It's all there. Like, it's not normal, like, how much accessibility to what everyone else is doing. Like, that was never a thing before. Like, it's too much.
Dangerous.
It is dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
TED Talks.
TED Talk on relationships and social media.
Oh, gosh. And the industry.
My TED Talk rant.
I think we're going to wrap it up there.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, but I really appreciate you for coming through.
Thank you for
having
having
me. It's my second episode, and I'm just like getting it off the ground. I'm still learning how to work everything, so thank you for bearing with me while I'm trying to get everything,
That's all good. Thank you so much for having me.
Truly, I actually appreciate it.
We all
Thank you.
need to talk more. I always say that about, stuff we don't get the opportunity to. So
Definitely. And the industry and the people in it are definitely one of them. And the fuckery
just talk,
that
guys,
goes
and
on.
go to therapy. It's really important.
That's it, man.
So we don't have to do this too much.
But again, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Love.